All right, welcome and thank you for joining me to meet our new contest judge. My name is Paige Maylott. I am a local Hamilton author and have been gritLIT's contest manager for the last 2 years. Thank you for joining me to learn a little bit more about our contest, our newest contest judge, poet January Rogers. January is a Mohawk Tuscarora poet, media producer, and performance artist. She lives on her home territory of Six Nations of the Grand River, where she operates the small publishing press, Ogisto Publishing. And I will include a link to the press along with this video. Did I pronounce Ogisto correctly, by the way, January? I think it's the first time I've ever said it out loud.
Perfectly.
Excellent. So January combines her literary talents with her passion for media making to produce audio and video poetry. Her video poem, Ego of a Nation, won Best Music Video at the American Indian International Film Festival 2020. And her audio work, The Battle Within, won Best Experimental Audio with Imaginative Film and Media Festival 2023. She is the current Western University's Writer in Residence 2022-23. I had the pleasure of meeting January back when she was with McMaster University and Hamilton Public Library as the writer in residence 2020 to 21. January had just stepped in as the pandemic was shutting down our city. However, January deftly pivoted, assisting aspiring writers remotely, but also created a successful podcast series in collaboration with the community called Writing Home, if I remember correctly. So January, it is my sincere pleasure to welcome you as gritLIT's contest judge this year. I've written a few questions so aspiring contest entrants can learn a little bit more about you. You up for that?
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks for the intro.
Oh, my pleasure. So I'm sure any writer would agree that it's a challenge to find time to write while juggling the demands of daily life. And this kind of goes along with things we were just discussing. How do you make time for your writing projects?
That's a great question. If, say, for example, you're kind of like tuned into your own sense of inspiration, then you're going to make that time no matter what you're doing, where you are, and who you're with. A source of inspiration is a very powerful thing. And when you are struck with that inspiration, it's pretty much everything stops. All the ordinary things of your day-to-day life stop so that you can grab that inspiration as it's coming to you. It's hit, sometimes it hits like a lightning bolt, and you have to pull over to the side of the road or get out of the bathtub or whatever whatever the scenario is.
Yeah.
But and I think we can all kind of agree that without doing that, that inspiration, you know, floats away. It can be very fleeting, and so that's one way to make time is just to pay attention to that feeling of being inspired to write. But also, there are the writers who work with a sense of discipline, whereas they really block out and ferociously protect a block of time for themselves to write, be it in the morning or in the evening or what have you. I personally am not that kind of a writer. I wait for the good stuff. I do kind of pay attention to that inspiration, and to get it in there. But it's really it's going to be, if that question, the answer to that question is going to be different for absolutely everybody. Depending on,
Mhm.
it's called process, and process is what works for you. And so it's really going to be a very different thing depending on, any one person's given situation. I know, and I'm not a person who has children, but I can imagine those who have children, how much more challenging it is to
Mhm.
find, time to write or just find time for yourself.
Yeah, and that is so important, process. I like that word, that term. Love that. Perfect. Okay, so I can see by your list of accomplishments here that you work both independently and collaboratively. Would you say you flourish more when writing in solitude, or do you tend to bloom creatively as part of a writing group? What would you say?
Wow. Yeah, that's I think I can do both. I'm a person who really feeds off of my own energy and my own like peace and quiet and just my own energy within my own space. But also, I am very inspired too and very driven by being in group scenarios where you're listening and you're looking and there's a lot of energy in one space. Both things work for me, and that's why, when I do get to be out in the world and I get to travel, I'm very inspired to write about my travels in the time that I'm traveling. So I would say, yeah, I don't know how rare it is to find it effective to be in both scenarios as a writer, but for me it works.
Yeah, that's fantastic. A dynamic writer, fantastic. So, fans of your work are no doubt familiar with the video poem Ego of a Nation, which I had previously mentioned. Um, and I will include a link to the trailer that I found for it that was published on YouTube. So I'll include that with the video here for people to take a glimpse at if they weren't lucky enough to catch that before. But that said, would you be able to treat us with a glimpse of any projects you're currently working on?
Yeah, as it so happens, after 7 published books of poetry, I've moved into script writing. And as such, I was able to acquire some wonderful funding that we have here in Canada. I talk a lot of crap about Canada sometimes as an Indigenous person, but I have to say the funding that we have for artists and across this nation of occupied territories is an amazing thing. So with that, I wrote a 10 episode web series called Indians on the Airwaves. And it was produced and edited and I had a little bit of writing help from a female comedy, Indigenous female comedy troupe called Manifest Destiny's Child, which I just think is a hilarious name. But the episodes are edited and they're up on the YouTube. So if people want to go and check out how funny that episode, that series is, please feel free to do so. But then another amazing thing happened recently, and that is I started writing a play, and this play has really got a life of its own because it quickly got accepted into a dramaturge program through Red Betty Theatre. And now the play is getting a second stage reading with Theatre Aquarius on November 4th. So this is something that took me almost by surprise. It's like a friend of mine, a collaborator, actually a film collaborator of mine, had kind of asked, "Hey, can you write this script?" And I said, "Well, let me take a run at it and see what happens." And as it so happened, like this thing like really spilled out of me, and it was a joy. It's a joy to discover new ways of writing, new ways of engaging with the literary arts.
That's fantastic. So Indians on the arrows, that's NDN, correct?
Correct. Yeah. N,
Yeah,
the letter N, the letter D, the letter N, and with a small S, Indians on the airwaves. And it's on the YouTubes. Anyone can watch and enjoy.
perfect. And for those of you who don't know, Theatre Aquarius is here in Hamilton.
That's
So
correct.
definitely watch out for that. Great. So we're planning on announcing the details of the short story contest very shortly. Um, in that announcement, we'll discuss the submission writing length and theme, but without spoiling any of that quite yet, what would you say that you look for in a winning short story? What tends to strike you as like a wow moment, and you
Mhm.
know this is one of them?
Yeah. And I don't know how much emphasis I want to put on this, but when someone is in the position to read a kind of a bulk amount of writing, it's really helpful to have a great opening line. um, I think that if you can arrest someone's attention with a great opening line, then I think you're pretty much halfway there. Um, and then, I'm always looking for, I have to say, when I mentor other writers, there's a couple of, things that I always say to them. And one of them is, there is no greater crime than to be uninteresting. So please give yourself permission to be interesting. And by that, I mean, avoid the cliches. Surprise me. you know, give me some information that I didn't already ordinarily have had before reading your work. Help me learn something and help me to go away with a greater understanding of the human condition almost. You know, it's a big order. But I think it can be done because, and I believe the best way to get there is to tell your own story. You know, there's such
Absolutely.
great value and great honesty and great effectiveness when someone comes to terms with their own story and realizes, wow, this is really fantastic and unique. And I'm going to
Mhm.
tell it in a really beautiful and creative way. And that's kind of the things that I look for, you know, because
Yeah,
that honesty and that uniqueness of personal detail really translates. It really does. And
yes.
those are the things that kind of hit the soul, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that that old chestnut, write what you know.
Right,
I
what you
think
know. Yeah,
I think I think that a lot of people don't quite understand what that means. That doesn't mean, you have to write about your day job. It means you have to write from your own experience. And even if that's inspired by your own experience,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's all about perspective. You know,
Hmm.
like, give me your perspective. Give me your opinion. Like,
Hmm.
risk it all.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. I totally agree with you. Fantastic. Okay. So I only have two more questions, but I'll let you choose either one of them or mix them together. How's that?
Okay.
So one, do you have any final nuggets of advice for our contest entrants this year? And what are the benefits to writers of entering a writing contest?
Yeah, I really enjoy when writers have a purpose for their writing. Sometimes that alone acts as a great, a great source of inspiration. Oh, there's a contest, and because gritLIT is putting a theme, a topic, a theme around the writing, that the entries, that really think that some folks really respond to having a framework, putting the parameters around what they can be writing about. And I'm really looking forward to just seeing all the different directions that this rating is going to come from. So yeah, other than that, I mean, again, I think what little gems or pearls that I've picked up along the way, I think I've already said that. It's like really, really trust your own perspective and trust that your voice is absolutely valuable and needed. You know,
Hmm.
fear not your own lived experience. Like, share it with us because there's going to be lots in there for us all to learn from.
Wonderful advice.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Well, that's all I have for today. And thank you once again for joining me, January, and for agreeing to be our new contest judge.
Well, Nyawagoa, my pleasure. I look forward to reading the entries. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, so for all the writers out there looking to learn more about this upcoming short story contest, please wait. We're going to be sending out something soon on, I believe it's November 1st. And also join me on November 19th at 1:30 p.m., where I'll be interviewing two of our past short story winners. And then after I'll be discussing some of the big changes that we're going to be soon announcing for this 2023's writing contest. Be sure to click the Eventbrite link that will be included with this video to reserve your free tickets, and see you there. Thanks, January.